Hello everyone. Letecia Stauch was in court earlier today. She was representing herself, and let me check out my notes so I can tell you guys what all went on. First, there was a big delay, and I had to go and check Spencer Wilson's tweets in order to figure out what was going on. And Letecia hadn't been brought into court yet. And then there was a lot of people that were joining that WebEx, and I can attest to that. And please, people, when you're joining WebEx, mute your microphones because it's quite a mess. Anyway, we could hear people talking on talk radio. There was somebody talking about grits bowls, and then at some point there was a lady talking about how she wouldn't be a very good exotic dancer because she's got hairy legs and hairy armpits or something like that. Anyway, eventually everyone got muted, and then Spencer said that's when Letecia walked in handcuffs, and she spoke with her court-appointed legal counsel, her guy that advises her as she is representing herself. And at that time, the camera wasn't live yet, so I didn't get to see her come in. Anyway, the guy representing her, his name is Josh Tolini, and I checked him out a little bit. He is her court-appointed legal counsel, like I said. He graduated from the University of Colorado Law School in 1998. Then he was with the Public Defender's Office for around 4 years. Then he started his own law firm, and he has taken DV cases before the Supreme Court of Colorado. He has litigated and won search and seizure cases versus the feds. And he has successfully defended several high-profile homicide cases. So he is very, very qualified. Letecia was quite subdued, for her. And it did appear, though, that her hair was brushed this time and stuff. She didn't look as disheveled as she usually does. And the purpose of today's appearance in court was to find out where Letecia is in the discovery process. Discovery is the evidence that the district attorney's office has against her, and as her own counsel, she's entitled to see all of that and go over it before her next appearance. And we were told that the DA's office hasn't sent anything over yet, but that on Wednesday, the public defender's office that used to be defending Letecia got about 14,000 pages, which is the case core, delivered to Josh Tolini, who then took them to the El Paso County Jail to give them to Letecia. But Letecia never received them because the jail representatives have seized those documents and did not allow her to have them. So they also called in for a representative from the jail to phone in to court. She did say that she did get to meet with her appointed legal counsel, but that was it. She didn't get to look at any of her records, and she doesn't know if she wants to waive the next meeting until she sees the pages. The judge asked the DA how long he believes the proof evident hearing is going to take and how many witnesses. And he said that is going to have less than 20 witnesses, and it's scheduled for 2 days with one what he called bleed over day, which I guess would be if it takes longer than that. He didn't know how efficient it would be with Letecia representing herself. And I remember the judge saying that they would schedule it for May 20th, and it'll go however long it needs to go. So her next court date isn't until May 20th at 9 a.m. And the DA says it's going to take him a little while to redact the personal information from the evidence so that Letecia will only be able to see the names and contact for those people, but won't get their social security numbers or their addresses or anything like that. Then Letecia said that they're only going to let her use the law library for about 2 hours a week, because we know Letecia's spending a lot of time in isolation, and her legal counsel in assistance said that she needs paper files, not computer files. And then the DA said that they needed to hear from the jail first because Letecia's a flight risk and she's already asked people to help break her out. And Letecia kind of like scoffed at that. And her counsel held up his hand, which I guess was signaling for her to stop because she did stop. And then they got the jail representative on the phone. And then the jail representative said that there was a security risk, but that he's willing to help. So in the end, the judge ordered papers to be delivered to the jail, that the papers that were already delivered need to be destroyed because it wasn't redacted at all. During the whole thing, Al was on the opposite side of the room as Letecia. Letecia was in like the jury box next to the table that the defense usually sits at, but that is where Josh Tellini was seated, and Spencer Wilson was behind him, so he had front row seating to whatever went on between Letecia and her advisory council. Letecia was seated over there. Al was on the opposite side of the room near the wall behind the prosecution, and according to Spencer, he caught Al looking at Letecia out of the corner of his eye a few times. Unfortunately, the camera angle did not allow me to see Al at all this time. I saw him last court appearance. And at that time, there were some interesting actions that I was observing. Anyway, it's going to be, not until May 20th that anything else is happening on this case, publicly anyway. That all made me think about where we were last year in this case, because this is the same week that Letecia was actually arrested last year. And so looking at that, on March 2nd, 2020, Letecia was arrested in South Carolina.
Welcome, everybody. Today marks 5 weeks since the investigation into the disappearance of Gannon Stauch. We're holding the press conference to update you on some significant developments. While we've yet to locate Gannon, this morning, just after 8 o'clock a.m. East Coast time, Letecia Stauch was taken into custody in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina without incident by law enforcement officers from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, the Denver and Columbia divisions of the FBI, the Myrtle Beach, South Carolina Police Department, the Horry County, South Carolina Police Department, and Sheriff's Office. Letecia will be held without bond in the J. Reuben Long Detention Center in Horry County, South Carolina, where she will remain until she's extradited back to Colorado Springs on the following charges. Charge 1, murder in the first degree of a child under 12 years of age by a person in a position of trust.
March 3rd, 2020 was her first court appearance where she waived her extradition and agreed to be sent back to El Paso County.
So my question to you is, do you want to waive extradition or do you want to fight extradition?
So when you said something about fighting it, I have to do what now?
Well, you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit until the hearing comes up. But otherwise, the state of Colorado has, if you waive extradition, they have 20 days to come get you. I would be surprised if they weren't already in the air, but that's just me. I have no factual basis for that, but I've just...
They were here yesterday. That's who actually came.
Oh, okay. So yeah, what you want to do, young lady? You want to waive extradition or you want to fight?
So there's a hearing here. What does that mean? They decide and determine what? If the hearing is here, what does that decide?
It just decides whether you go back to Colorado or not.
Well, I've still never been given the opportunity, like, since the beginning, to even call my attorney to even talk to him about any of these things.
Well, where's your attorney?
Well, I need to call my friend Laura, who has the attorney, but I was told yesterday that someone was going to do that, but they never did.
Okay.
That's since yesterday that I called an attorney.
Well, it doesn't matter either way to me, because I'm just asking the question. I don't
Oh, you're
care.
saying they have to prove that. I see what you're saying. I understand now. So,
Yes.
So you
Okay, what you want to do, young lady?
so Colorado.
Okay, well, I'll sign the extradition order, and they'll bring it back for you to consent to. Now,
And then on March 4th, we heard reports that Letecia had slipped her cuffs and attacked a deputy in the transport vehicle that was bringing her back to Colorado in Kansas.
On that. As part of the extradition process, law enforcement drove Stauch more than 1,700 miles from South Carolina back to Colorado. Our cameras were rolling as the transport van pulled into the El Paso County Jail this morning.
I am disappointed that the death penalty is going away because it is a valuable law enforcement tool. Absolutely.
Why is it valuable?
Because it's used oftentimes to hold the most egregious violent offenders accountable.
Letecia ended up being checked out at a hospital. We weren't privy to what that treatment was or anything, and then Letecia spent the night in a jail. They continued their trip to El Paso County that morning, which was Thursday, and then that afternoon was her first appearance in the El Paso County court, and at that time we got to see her wearing her lovely vest that's used for trying to make this safe for YouTube. It is a vest for people who are at risk of harming themselves or others, and usually they're not allowed to wear any clothing whatsoever underneath it, so Letecia probably was not too comfortable at that first court appearance. Anyway, so that's where we were last year, and that brings us to here and now. And I was looking over the evidence of this court case and thinking that I'm probably going to redo the drives that I did back then to bring clarity to the case again and go over again what is going on and keep you all up to date on everything. Thanks for watching Another Day in the Car with JuleZ.